Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Weather Desk. Here at 13 News Now, we love to talk about weather. So every day, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m., we talk about the biggest weather headlines. It's anywhere from local news here in the Mid-Atlantic to the national news across the area for the U.S. in terms of weather or even internationally. I'm meteorologist Taylor Stephenson, based in Norfolk, Virginia. Thank you to everybody who is tuning in this morning, and let's go ahead and get started. Right now, we are talking big weather changes from yesterday. 24 hours ago till now, we have had a big jump in temperatures, anywhere from 10 to 15 degrees warmer than where we were this time yesterday. So starting off the day this morning, it's actually been very comfortable, anywhere from 10 to 20 degrees warmer than where we should be for an early February day. Normal high temperatures around this time of year are right above freezing at 34 degrees. Inland temperatures did make it into or drop down to the lower 40s, but around the water, we've only seen temperatures drop into the lower to middle 50s. That's our normal high temperature for this time of year. But during this time, if we can take this graphic full, we're seeing temperatures around the area in the 46 range as you get into Roanoke Rapids, 54 in Hampton, and 53 now in Wallops Island. These are what we saw this morning, but that's not what we saw as we were in January. Now that we're a few days into February, we're looking back at how last month's weather compares to previous years. It was a fairly cold month, and we ended our snow drought finally after over 1,000 days without snow. Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandages breaks down the numbers from January.
Did January feel like it lasted 60 days instead of 31? You're not alone. January 2025 now officially behind us. Let's look at how it measured up. When it comes to temperatures, it was a chilly month. After a brief warm-up on New Year's Day, the rest of January stayed predominantly below normal, 22 out of 31 days to be exact. At one point, we endured a grueling 70-hour stretch where temperatures never rose above freezing. However, the final week brought a much-needed thaw, with highs on the last day of the month tying a 111-year-old record. Looking at the numbers, the average temperature for January came in at 37.4, making it the coldest since 2018. Precipitation was also in short supply, with just over 1.5 inches of rain, making this the driest January in more than a decade. Snow finally made a return on January 5th, breaking our second longest snow drought on record. In total, January 2025 was the snowiest since 2022, with 5.7 inches recorded at Norfolk International Airport. So what can we expect for February? Long-range forecasts suggest a trend above normal in terms of temperatures and precipitation throughout the first half of the month. However, some models indicate a potential return to colder conditions later in the month, perhaps even bringing another round of snow before we transition into spring. Stay tuned.
Thanks, Tim. I don't know if I'm a fan of the fact that we may see more snow. I like the fact that we got some snow in January and it melted within a couple of days. I'm ready to move on to spring. But with springtime comes the very numerous cold fronts we'll start to see. Still now in the midst of winter, but meteorological spring starts on March 1st. And we are seeing a cold front today that is a very powerful front starting to move through the area. And right now we're seeing that front in northern Virginia. It really hasn't brought any rainfall to some of the area, but it's a dry front, but very powerful when it comes through. Taking this graphic full, you'll see that the cold front right now is draped across Maryland into Washington, D.C., just the north side of D.C., and into parts of northern Virginia now over the Appalachian Mountains. It hasn't made it to our area yet, but when it does so, we're going to start to see a blast of cold air coming through today. That's why temperatures today will fall during the afternoon instead of rise during the afternoon. Now, cold fronts like the one today can typically bring clouds or storms into the area. But before you can understand its effects, you need to know how cold fronts form. So don't worry, I did the research for you. Here is what I found out in one of my episodes of my weekly weather series, Weather Works. I'm meteorologist Taylor Stephenson, here to explain to you how your weather works. I can confidently say that most of us in Virginia and North Carolina love those fantastic late summer and fall cold fronts that drop our temperatures and humidity. Have you ever wondered, though, how cold fronts form? To get a full understanding of how cold fronts form, we have to define what a cold front is first. A front is a boundary that separates two different air masses. For cold fronts, one air mass is cool and dry, the other one is warm and moist. When a low pressure system is present, its counterclockwise motion draws cooler air from the north toward the south. The cool air then begins to wrap around the center of low pressure. On the other side of that low pressure system, warm moist air is present. A cold front forms when the cooler, drier air bumps up against and moves under the warm air, which forces the warm air mass to rise up into the atmosphere. This is because the warm air is less dense than the cool air. As that warm moist air rises, it cools and condenses, forming the signature line of clouds and storms associated with an incoming cold front. Once that cold front moves through an area, though, the cooler, drier air settles in and leaves behind lower temperatures, lower humidity, and clear skies. I'm meteorologist Taylor Stephenson, and that's how your weather works. Don't we just love a quick change and a quick hair change of that too? But yes, cold fronts, super powerful, always coming through, and they really change the weather. I was teaching people earlier today, and we can talk about it now. I'm going to teach you how to identify a front. So we're going to look at the winds over the next 12 hours, and it kind of shows you where this cold front comes through. We had some south winds earlier this morning, but now transitioning over into west winds. Notice the arrows. The arrow is where the winds are coming from. So when the arrow is pointing to the east, the winds are coming from the west. So right now we're seeing west winds, but notice how the arrows change direction and now they're coming from the north. That's when you can notice the cold front is dropping through, because behind cold fronts you get cold, dry air, but they always come from, most of the time, come from the north. It also is indicative of a cold front when you see wind gusts also picking up. As you see, wind gusts spike around 2 to 6 p.m. today, with wind gusts today as high as 25 miles per hour. That north wind pulls in that cool air, so that's why temperatures will drop throughout the afternoon. So it looks like a bell curve now with our winds, but if you look at what we're experiencing for today when it comes to our actual temperatures, you'll notice that we're going to be on a downhill swing of temperatures throughout the day today, where temperatures will fall afternoon, where temperatures today will be in the lower to middle 60s, very comfortable for this time of year around lunchtime. But by 4 p.m., 2 to 4, where we really should be seeing our high temperatures for today, we'll actually be cooling back down to where we started off this morning. Now, here in Virginia, we haven't been dealing with any type of extreme weather across our area. That's good news. Unfortunately, not the same out in California, where we've been tracking all of those fires, where crews have contained at least 2 of the largest wildfires in the LA area. But threats of mudslides and uprooted trees continue today as 2 large rainstorms move into the area. It all comes from an atmospheric river in Northern California. Forecasters and meteorologists in LA say Los Angeles and Ventura counties could get anywhere from 1/4 of an inch of rain to 1.5 inches. Sophie Flay from KABC is in Altadena as families return to their homes after the fires and brace for the incoming rain.
The Red Cross is handing out cleaning supplies to folks in Altadena as they return to their homes and prepare for the rain. Crews on Calavera Street are putting down compost socks along burned areas. These socks are stuffed with mulch or compost and filter stormwater before it ends up in the watershed. And this is just one of 32 crews from the California Conservation Corps out on the streets today. This operation is run by the state's Office of Emergency Services. A representative from that office says they're mostly worried about keeping heavy metals and asbestos out of the runoff. The National Weather Service is predicting rain starting tomorrow through Friday. Residents stopping by to grab cleaning supplies say they want to do some cleaning before the rain starts, and they're concerned about flooding.
Well, we already laid down the sandbags, and where our house is, I don't think we're worried about mudslides there, but I worry about the neighbors below us. So trying to abate that.
And if you're looking for sandbags, you can visit the LA County Department of Public Works website to find out where you can get those free sandbags. In Altadena, Sophie Flay, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Now, according to our recent updates from the fires out in California, right now, according to our data, we're still watching 2 fires in parts of Southern California and now Central California. One of them, as we take this graphic full, is just to the south and east of San Francisco, north and west of Fresno. So we're watching one wildfire there. In Bakersfield, California, we're also watching for wildfire. The blue area you see, that is smoke that is present in the area this morning. So places in Las Vegas, Southern California, Western Arizona, they're seeing some pretty dense smoke, which could lead to reduced air quality today. But a lot of the fires that we're seeing are now across parts of the middle to east coast. A lot of fires actively burning in places like Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Alabama, Tennessee, and that's where we're also seeing some increased smoke today. So if you have friends or you live in these areas and you are sensitive to a lot of that smoke, maybe limit your time outdoors or wear a mask in these areas. Going up into the mid-Atlantic, we do have a couple of active fires now in parts of Virginia, mainly in Western Virginia and extreme southwestern Virginia at that. Right now, a couple of active wildfires as you get closer to Atkins, down the I-81 corridor, up the I-75 corridor, and then as you get in places just around Danville, to the east and the southeast and to the west of you, you're watching 2 of those wildfires. A little bit of smoke in our area today here in the mid-Atlantic, but not enough to really cause any hazardous conditions. That's the good news. As we play this over time, though, we may see a little bit more smoke developing in places like the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma as wildfires rage in central and eastern Oklahoma and western Arkansas. But otherwise, it seems like smoke will be very limited to only western portions of Oklahoma, northeastern portions of Texas, and of course out there in parts of the West Coast where we have seen those active fires. Now, we're taking a big turn from fiery conditions to icy conditions. As we look even further to our north and west, to the top corner of the United States, you would think that people in Washington State would get snow all the time. But actually, it's their first snowfall of the season in Whatcom County. The county borders Canada, not too far from Vancouver. Right now, it's as cold as you expect in early February. Wind chills in the single digits, yes, single digits are expected through tomorrow. Denise Whitaker from ABC Seattle shows us how residents braved the cold and also had some fun in it.
Wicked winds whipped Whatcom County, forming snowdrifts around fields and across rural roads. Even plowed roads crisscrossing Ferndale remained snow-covered. So you're out driving around today? Why?
Because I had to work, and then also we need groceries. Yes.
Wait, you didn't plan ahead with the groceries?
No. I was kind of hoping it wasn't going to come.
But it did, creating frigid, skin-tingling temperatures.
When my cheeks are cold, I like to make a snowman and punch it in the face.
Likely no amount of cold would stop Vivian and her friends from this fun in the snow.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah! I like falling off the slides and pushing people off the slides.
I just love, just riding in the snow and making snowmen and stuff and hang out with my friends in the snow.
Super Snow Dad Aaron Lundy braved the roads to pick up his kids' friends and then give them an afternoon of unforgettable fun.
My best memories growing up was my dad and my grandpa pulling us on an old wooden toboggan behind a tractor or a 3-wheeler or a big inner tube, so it's just fun to pass it down.
Aaron Lundy tells me the four-wheeler is new for them this year, perfect when you don't have a hill nearby to race down. And with roads still ice and snow covered, nobody should be racing anywhere. In fact, early in the morning, you may even want to give those road crews time to get everything salted and plowed before you head out where you may need to go. In Bellingham, Denise Whitaker, KOMO News.
Thank you, Denise. Now, we are watching this low pressure system that is in parts of the Pacific Northwest that is causing, again, the first snowfall of the season. How did people here in Virginia and the Deep South, even Louisiana, where they picked up 8 inches of snow in New Orleans, get snowfall before northwestern portions of the U.S.? It's kind of incredible to think about. But here's our center of low pressure now. It's out right off the coast of Canada and Washington State, bringing some of that snowfall to the area. So as we zoom in, western portions of Seattle seeing some rain this morning, snow this morning as you go up the I-5 corridor. Forks down to Raymond, you're also seeing some snow showers coming down. And then as you get into the Washington Canada border, Vancouver also seeing some snowfall this morning, even as you get near Bellingham into extreme northern parts of Washington State, we're also seeing some snow. So I'm happy for them. I'm glad they finally got the snow they're used to. But again, this is a really cold part of the U.S. So honestly, I'm shocked as with you guys as well, the fact that they're just now seeing snow after the Deep South saw a winter storm back in January. Well, whether you're used to the temperatures like in Washington State, or you live in Hampton Roads and prefer a nice mild 60-degree February day like yesterday and like today, any changing temperatures might have you turning your heat up and down. I'm definitely a victim of that. With that in mind, many people are looking for ways to conserve energy. Brandon Lewis from our National Verify team looks into whether closing the vents to unused rooms of your house can help you save money on your heating bill.
People are willing to try almost anything to keep costs down. One common thought is by closing the vents in unused rooms in your home, you can force the warm air into occupied rooms and avoid paying to heat empty rooms. So let's verify. Is closing vents in unused rooms a reliable way to save money on heating costs? Our sources are 2 HVAC companies, Energy Vanguard, which trains energy auditors, renewable energy company Prime Energy,
and Ian Walker with the International HVAC Engineering Society, ASHRAE.
All of our sources say completely closing vents is a bad idea because these systems are designed to flow air throughout your home. While you can partially close some vents in your home, when you totally shut vents in one room, you're actually blocking the flow, which can cause your system to use more energy as it tries to circulate the heat elsewhere. Closing vents can also build pressure in your system. This can strain it, which causes damage over time, and your ducts may leak heat. Plus, Apollo Home says the laws of physics can end up putting some of that heat into unused rooms anyway. Most interior walls don't have insulation, meaning the warm air will eventually seep into an adjacent colder room, again negating any attempt at savings because your furnace will cycle on and off more frequently, raising your costs and lowering your comfort. So, no, closing vents in unused rooms is not a reliable way to save money on heating costs. Any potential cost savings is outweighed by the inefficiency and could cost you more in repairs in the long run. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Now, again, take those tips into mind because I definitely did not, because I also am a person who turns up and down my heat. It definitely reflected in my bill this month. Thankfully, though, we are getting back into the 60s. And as we get into the middle of February, end of February, our normal high temperature here in the mid-Atlantic will start to rise to the lower to middle 50s. By March, we'll be in the 60s for normal high temperatures, and by April, we'll be in the 70s. So at least your air conditioning and your heat can take a little bit of a break as we get into the upcoming months. But again, using those vents really won't help you in the long run. Now, I want to take a little trip back in time. We will talk a little bit about the 80s, known for their big fashion hair and using all of that hairspray. But that hairspray can contribute to a big time climate crisis, one that was averted thanks to scientists and the world working together in a big way. In our ongoing series, Climate A to Z, ABC's chief meteorologist and chief climate correspondent, Ginger Z, tackles pressing climate questions and debunks online information. In its latest installment, answers the question, what happened to that hole in the ozone? Let's take a look.
When I post about climate change, some of you love to bring up the past, like this guy. #climate hoax. I remember when I was a kid in the 80s and it was the ozone layer crisis. Then they moved to global warming, then global cooling, and now climate change. Well, the ozone layer crisis was indeed a crisis, and I'm really glad you brought it up because it's an awesome example of how the world can come together and reverse humans' impact on the Earth that was negative.
Now, if you weren't around back in the 1980s, like me and what's-his-face from the tweet, the ozone layer is a layer of gas way up in the atmosphere, like 2-3 times the height that we usually fly in a commercial airplane. It acts like a big layer of sunscreen for the planet before that UV radiation gets to us and burns us. Yep, without it, you burn. And I don't mean like spring break Mexico burn, I mean burn to death. Plants would die, everything would die. Without that ozone layer, the sun sterilizes the Earth.
That's why, in 1985, when scientists saw that ozone layer was thinning, they yelled it from the rooftops.
There wasn't an actual hole in the ozone. It was just an area that was thinning, so that's how they described it. But they made a big deal about it because they could prove that we were the cause of that thinning.
How? Chemicals. We were using things called chlorofluorocarbons and bromine, a bunch of different chemicals. You found some of them in refrigerators, air conditioners, and aerosol sprays. These were the chemicals that were impacting the ozone layer and thinning it.
And here's where the story gets even more amazing. About 2 years after all that science got figured out, nearly 200 countries came together and signed something called the Montreal Protocol. It was a global policy, an agreement that said, hey, there's bad chemicals that hurt the ozone layer. Let's not use those anymore. And lo and behold, the ozone layer started healing. I mean, come here, look at this chart. Our bad for you chemicals for the ozone layer are barely anything today. And it's a good thing we made this change. You know the UV index? On a regular summer day, it's like a 9 or a 10. NASA says, had we not gotten rid of those CFCs, it would regularly be a 30 for most of the United States in the next 20 years.
If we'd never regulated CFCs, you wouldn't have been able to go outside for much time at all.
Now, ozone recovery isn't just a straight shot up in the positive direction. It varies from year to year, and natural factors change it too, like weather patterns or volcanic eruptions. This year, it was only the 7th smallest ozone hole since they started taking these records back in 1992. Healing is slow, but if the Montreal Protocol is fully executed, scientists expect the ozone layer to fully recover in the next 40 years. And there's some other benefits for our health too. Get this. So if we have 443 million fewer cases of skin cancer, that would be pretty cool. Also 63 million cases of cataracts prevented through the end of this century. So the trend overall is positive. It's up. The ozone layer is healing. Can you imagine if we all came together and did that for greenhouse gas emissions?
I love to hear that really good news. I'm glad the ozone hole is being repaired as we take steps to mitigate climate change. But I do want to give you a trivia question before I get into my full forecast to keep you engaged and keep to see where your knowledge is on the climate. Now, the trivia question is, how much UV light or ultraviolet radiation does the ozone layer absorb and protect us from? Remember, we wear sunscreen because of that really harsh radiation that we do get from the sun. But a lot of the ozone layer really takes apart that, absorbs a lot of it. So is it A, 87 to 89%, B, 97 to 99%, C, 90 to 92%, or D, 93 to 95%? We'll come back to this question, so think about it a little bit while why I talk about the local forecast here in Hampton Roads. Our local forecast is all about this cold front for today. We are talking a little bit of that cold front coming through parts of Virginia now, but the full front will be in our area over the next few hours. Right now, we are seeing a lot of sunshine for today. That's the good news. This front will be dry, maybe pushing in a couple more clouds, but it's going to be really strong when it comes to our actual temperatures. Temperatures between this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon will fall by 20 to 25 degrees. It's going to be a big change. Right now, we are seeing winds changing direction. That south wind we had in play earlier, not in the picture for most of us. Now, talking a west wind, we'll start to see those winds changing direction to the north by the afternoon, pulling in that colder air. So sustained winds right now, anywhere from 5 to 15 miles an hour. We have seen some current gusts up to about 25 this morning. Now, current temperatures around the area already seeing 60-degree temperatures at this point. 60 now in Norfolk, 60 in Franklin, 58 in Chesapeake, 58 in Currituck as well, 60 in Suffolk, 56 in Wakefield and Williamsburg, and 59 in Virginia Beach, Portsmouth, and Hampton. Our normal high temperature for this time of year is 51 to 52 degrees. So we're already beating that this morning at 9:30 by 5 to 10 degrees. So you're already waking up and walking out the door to a very unusually warm day. But that cold front is going to drop through really fast. We won't see the effects of the cold air until later this afternoon and evening. So temperatures this afternoon will rise still to the middle to upper 60s. Some models have places around northeastern North Carolina and inland in the lower 70s. So it's going to be a very pleasant, mostly sunny to partly cloudy day. Most of our clouds will come through as that front passes through. By 3 to 4 p.m., most of that front will be out of our hair. We'll still be in the lower 60s and 70s inland, but it's going to be this evening where as you walk out the door from work, or if you're walking out the door this evening, it's going to feel exactly the same that it felt this morning if you went out the door this morning. So it's kind of going to feel like Groundhog Day, only within the same day, because temperatures will have already been the warmest during lunchtime today. But that cold air, it really seeps in. As we get into tomorrow, we're going to feel it. Temperatures will be very consistent throughout the day, but very cold. Again, our normal high temperature is 51 to 52 degrees. We're only going to be in the lower 40s, upper 30s all day long. We will see increasing cloud cover and chances for rain. But on top of the cold air, it's going to feel even colder with a slight breeze from the north. Wind chills tomorrow anywhere around freezing or slightly above. So make sure to wear multiple layers if you live in the mid-Atlantic tomorrow. It is going to be shockingly cold after where we just sat on Monday and Tuesday with temperatures in those middle 60s. It's a little bit of weather whiplash because after that we go right back to the 60s on Thursday and Friday. But the big thing that is coming through tomorrow and will spark our unsettled pattern are showers in the area. We are expecting some rain chances moving through the area from Wednesday into Thursday. Taking this graphic full, you'll notice that rain chances really start to waver as we get into your Friday, but that's because we'll dry out briefly before we enter the weekend and elevated rain chances return. Those rain chances also continue into next week. Any rain that we do get will be very beneficial. Again, today staying dry as that cold front rolls through, and we'll look into tomorrow morning as we get basically back into those middle 30s inland and lower 40s around the coast. We'll see a little bit of rain developing during the early to middle of the afternoon. Now, there is a potential for a little bit of mixing. Could we see some sleet? Maybe. Can we see some freezing rain? Possibly. But that chance for any type of cold weather precipitation is going to be mainly for places north like the peninsulas. Will we see snow? No, not cold enough for that here across the mid-Atlantic. Rain chances continue through your Wednesday evening. It will be a very cold rain. This cold rain will also be light to scattered in nature, and it may affect the work commute. So if you're heading home or you're working on Wednesday evening, maybe try to give yourself a couple minutes extra to maybe head out the door, maybe shave some time off of that lunch break so you can get yourself out the door while you're battling traffic on top of cold rain. Cold rain continues through late Wednesday into early Thursday morning. We may see a little bit of mixing. Excuse me, go back real quick. The graphic changed on me. But yes, you can see a little bit of mixing as we get into early Thursday morning. But again, mainly for places in central and northern Virginia. We'll have some light to moderate showers rolling through the day on Thursday morning into Thursday afternoon, drying out and clearing out on Thursday evening. Thursday will be a warm day. Highs will be in the middle 60s, but notice how those winds come right back again from the southwest. That will still pull in warm air. So Thursday evening into Thursday night will be extremely warm. We are talking temperatures staying in those middle to upper 50s. But any rain that we do get from now through the weekend and early next week will be super beneficial. We are underneath moderate to severe drought. Our severe drought is encompassing most of our peninsulas, northern neck, eastern shore, middle peninsula. Peninsula, south side, most of northeastern North Carolina, you're underneath a moderate drought. But a severe drought is still in the Outer Banks in northeastern North Carolina. So again, we need that rain desperately. The snow that we got in January was not enough. Remember, I told you yesterday, even though we did see snowfall amounts anywhere from 2 up to 6 to isolated 7-8 inches of snow, that only melted down to less than half an inch of rain. In some cases, 1/10 of an inch to 2/10 of an inch of rain. So it is not enough water to really get us out of that drought. But we will have multiple chances to see rain as we get into the next few days. But today, we are staying dry for your Tuesday. Temperatures in those middle 60s. We will have falling temperatures throughout the day. So our high temperatures will occur over the next couple of hours. As we get into the afternoon, those temperatures drop. And then by tomorrow, we're talking a huge swing. We're going to take this graphic full so everybody can see what's going on here. We're talking temperatures in the lower to middle 40s, showers coming in late, lingering through Thursday. And then we'll see a brief dry period on Friday. Temperatures will fall from the middle 60s on Thursday to the lower 50s on Saturday, right back into the upper 60s on Sunday, with middle 40s for highs early next week. And with temperatures that cold in the morning, hovering right around freezing on Monday, could we see some wintry mix? It's possible. So stay tuned for that forecast. If you enjoyed watching this, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm at meteorologist Taylor Stephenson on Facebook. On Instagram and TikTok, I'm at TDStarz, TDSTARZ. Now, we always do this stream again Monday through Friday, starting at 9 a.m. You can download the 13 News Now Plus app on your Fire TV, Apple TV, and Roku TV today. If you'd rather have the access straight to your phone, you can download our 13 News Now Plus app. Just scan the QR code that you see on your screen right now. All of our apps are free, and you can rewatch our streams, rewatch our newscasts, or any of your favorite stories on the go and at your convenience. Thank you so much for joining me today for the Weather Desk. Tomorrow, meteorologist Craig Muller is back with you Monday through Friday to give you the top headlines for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday in the weather world. I'm meteorologist Taylor Stephenson for 13 News Now. Thank you so much for joining me today, and have a great rest of your Tuesday.